If you know friends and families who couldn't join us this evening for a variety of reasons, we're going to direct them there to give them the tour too, so they're not missing anything. Um, Again, like I said, my name is Tim Payne. I have Tony Lee with me this evening. He's an associate principal. We're going to be joined shortly by Chris McGuire, my other associate principal. And Hannah Green is with us. She is a counselor at the middle school, school counselor. And we may be joined by Melissa Cleary and Norm Nicholas. They are also school counselors at the middle school. So we've scheduled an hour to hang out with folks. I promise that my slideshow and my presentation is going to be very brief. And then what we'd like to do is just open it up to questions. And so if you have questions, feel free. You don't need to, I see different screensavers and different folks. If you're a shy person and you don't need your camera on, you can go ahead and ask the question. And I'll do my best to catch up. Mr. Lee and Miss Green are going to watch screens. So if you just want to turn your mic off and say, hello, I got a question, or if you have your screen on and we can see you want to wave your hand, we'll do our best to acknowledge you as quickly as possible. And if I get distracted, it's only because I'm going to pop up a screen and I won't be able to see you anymore because the way Zoom works, the share screen blocks me out. But Mr. Lee and Mrs. Green can tell me to pop back in if folks have a question. And I'm going to try to keep one eye on the ball here because I still have folks who are joining us, and I want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody in the bullpen for a long period of time. So I think some folks who are joining us this evening have probably been to the middle school. You've probably been inside the middle school. You may even have brothers, sisters, family members who've been here. But if you haven't, the middle school is probably a little bit bigger than the school that you're going to right now. It has about 550 students in it. About 125 of those are sixth graders. The average 7th and 8th grade class is around 200 students. So that might be a little bit bigger than the classes you're sitting in right now. The building is big, we recognize that, but the building is a nice middle school. It's about 17 years old. It was built specifically for middle school. If folks remember the old middle school on Main Street, I do. I used to work there many, many moons ago. Students are placed on teams, and this is our attempt to make a big school feel a little bit smaller, a little bit friendlier. So as a new student in the building, you can really kind of focus on getting to know a handful of teachers. There'd be the teachers who teach you English and math, science and social studies, maybe a special educator who would also be a member of the team. But that way you don't have to know all the names of the teachers because there's 55 teachers in the building. That's a lot of people. So we start out small. If you're on the 6th grade, we have 2 6th grade teams. And if you're starting in the 7th grade, we have 3 teams. So at this point, let me pause for a moment. I'm going to hop over. I'm going to press the share screen button. We're going to see if that works for Mr. Payne. And I'm going to pop up a screen. Let me see. Can I have someone give me a thumbs up if they can see Mr. Payne's screen? Awesome. All right, let me see if I can go. We can go a little bit bigger. Look at that. I think I know what I'm doing. Okay, so this is a picture of the middle school. I mean, I'm sure so folks have seen this. This isn't the view I see. My office actually faces in the opposite, so I would have seen that person taking the picture. Again, the middle school is based on what a house system, and the teams are organized under different houses. Mr. Lee is the associate principal for the Taconic House, and Mr. McGuire supervises the Walloomsac House. And again, we have principals and we have counselors and we have support services right next door. So students don't have to travel. As you're a first year student, you don't have to travel a long way to find people who are going to be able to help you out and things like that. So that's a good thing too. Some folks know the team, some folks don't. Let's see, 6th graders. If you are going to be a 6th grader next year, we have 2 teams. One is Stratton. They have 5 teachers assigned to them. There's about 75 students. And then we have Team Okemo, which is 4 teachers, about 50 kids. Mr. Lee is in charge of assigning students. He does a nice job of balancing for a whole wide range of things. what school you're from, if you're a boy or a girl, if you want to be in the band, if you need help with reading, all those things are spread out. We don't have specialty teams for any one specific interest. Hopefully this will help you meet some new students, develop some new friends, maybe folks you haven't gone to school with. If you're a seventh grader, there are three teams that we place seventh graders on. White Rocks, which is upstairs next to Mr. Lee's office. They have 5 teachers, about 100 students. We're probably not 100 students this year. We're probably closer to 85 or so, but that's a maximum that we like to work with. Team Nineveh is a seventh grade team. They have 5 teachers, about 100 students. They're downstairs in Mr. McGuire's Woomsack space. And then we have a team called Delta, and Delta is actually made up of roughly 50 seventh graders and 50 eighth graders. They don't take classes together. They actually take classes with their fellow seventh graders, but that's a team that some students really like because you have the same teacher for both seventh and eighth grade year. So that's a nice thing to offer for consideration as Mr. Lee places you on a team. Every student at Mount Anthony Middle School takes an English class, takes a math class, takes a social studies class, takes a science class. You would take those with the teachers that you're a member of a team. You don't travel off to other wings to take your core classes. And that's kind of nice because your locker is there and your materials are all there. So it really kind of cuts down your commute. I'm sure when we get to questions and answers, some students always ask us, like, how do you possibly get to class on time? It's such a big building. You'd be amazed. Middle schoolers travel quite quickly when they have a purpose, and they make the commute no problem. It takes Mr. Payne a little bit longer because I'm old. So in addition to core subjects, if you're a sixth grader, we have and seventh grader, we at the middle school operate on what is called a trimester schedule, which is actually 3 marking periods every school year. And if you're in the sixth grade, what that means is that in your first trimester, you may be taking art. And your second trimester, you may be taking digital citizenship, which has a lot to do with using technology effectively and appropriately. And then you might take general music for your last trimester. But if you're a seventh grader, that might mean you might take art in the fall. And then you might take your health class, which everybody takes in seventh and eighth grade, in your winter trimester. And then you might take sustainability, which is a mix of things, really. It's cooking and working in the garden and building stuff with Mrs. Straussman. You might be taking that in the spring. And those are all rotated. Your friends might be taking health while you're taking art, and you might be in sustainability while your friends are taking an art class. But it's a nice way to mix with other students. We do mix students from other teams. At least that's our hope next year as we move past the COVID restrictions, we hope, and get back to that. That's a nice way to see friends, meet new students off your team as you're going through your day. The unified classes that we just showed you, you take those every other day. And then when you're not in a unified class, you take PE. We do have physical education. All students take it. All students take it year round. Mrs. Galley and Mr. Gerds are the teachers along with Miss Mullen in those classes. They do a nice job. The campus is big. It's 110 acres. They get them outside. We do a lot of activities. And this year has taught us that middle schoolers really like to be outside even when it's really cold, if anything, just for a fresh break. So lots of things to do, lots of good activities with phys ed. As far as choices go, I'm not gonna get really deep into this, but we do have a band and chorus option for students, both in the sixth grade, seventh grade, and eighth grade. There are winter concerts for moms and dads. If you have a student who's in the sixth grade and the eighth grade who plays in the band, no worries. The concerts are the same night, but your students will be performing. They have grade level performing groups, so sixth grade band, seventh grade band. Students do have a choice. They can take band, chorus. Some students participate in the band and the chorus, and some students, like Mr. Payne, choose not to because we wouldn't subject people to that kind of talent. So just letting one more folks in. As far as transitions, I'm starting to get some emails from parents who are planning to have students at the middle school next year. Again, I'm going to post this up so folks can see this. Um, a couple of things you might want to mark down in the calendar for planning purposes. Today is May the 4th, so we're having an opportunity to talk to future 6th and 7th graders, answer some questions this evening. One of the emails that I got this week from a parent was, hey, when are we going to be able, when do our students come and visit the middle school? And actually, we're not doing that this year because students are not supposed to be traveling between buildings. So Miss Green and Miss Cleary and Mr. Nicholas have prepared a couple of resources that they're providing to your current classroom teachers at your current schools, and your teachers can share those with you. And they've also, Ms. Green and the counselors have also offered to visit virtually classes and answer any and all questions that you might have. Important things like, do I get a locker to put my equipment? Do they really serve ice cream every day in the cafeteria? These are the things that middle schoolers want to know, and that the counselors and Mr. Lee and myself can help you answer. But we may tackle those questions this evening. Those seem to be the burning questions. Um, Schedules are mailed to students in the beginning of August. That is always our goal. And so moms and dads, you should be looking for that in the first couple of weeks of August. You'll get a printed paper copy of your schedule. Don't worry if once it gets home, it accidentally gets recycled or the dog does something with it. We're happy to provide you another copy. We also are fully prepared to hand schedules to students on the first day of school. If you're like Mr. Payne and you like to have a little bit of a plan before you go into a new building, we'll continue to send this message out. We completely invite moms and dads and students to come to the middle school. We're anticipating the building being open in August. And bring your schedule, and we'll provide you with a map, and we'll let you walk around school and you can take a look. You can walk your schedule and say, hey, this is where I'm going first. This is where I'm going second, third, fourth, fifth. We can help you with all of that. And students find that to be really helpful. Your schedule also has your lockers, so you'll figure out where your locker is. It has your combination on it, so you can practice that. I promise you the combination, for some students, it seems to be a great mystery, but it's not. Students figure it out pretty quickly. But we really encourage parents and students to take advantage of that. We also host one night that week, an evening for moms and dads and families who have daytime work obligations. Make ourselves available so you again can walk around the building and get understand which doors you're going in and where you're going, all that stuff. And we'll be glad to help you with any questions. The first day of school, this is a happy face because Mr. Lee's not happy about this, but I put a happy face there. The first day of school is August 25th. Mr. Lee is a firm believer that school should start in September. He's old school that way, but the school board has decided this year that we will be starting August 25th. And so we look forward to seeing everybody there. We do host a traditional open house in the fall. This is where we invite parents to come, and teams of teachers will give a little short presentation, do some question and answer sessions for you. It seems to be pretty well attended. We'll see what COVID did for us for the year that we took off. But we do that in October. We usually wait for the athletic schedule to be published, so we're not bumping into a lot of home games and things like that when parents and families are going to be really busy. One last thing, as I'm looking at my clock, I seem to be doing okay. We're going to put this up here, and then we're going to actually do a little navigation on the web, and we're going to see how Mr. Payne does for that. But we do have a school website. If you've already traveled to the SVSU's website, the svsu.org, you can, of course, tap the button for the middle school and get there. Why don't I pause right there for a moment? Well, let me do this first. I'm trying to hop back and visit something else here. There's a phone number that you can always give us a call. And for folks who are on Facebook, not all of us are, we appreciate that, but we do use Facebook. You can find us on Facebook. You want to friend us, you can see it right there. It's MAU Middle School. And we post a lot of things. Miss Cotting and Miss Havoc do a great job of putting up with my last minute announcements, and they put great graphics and, you know, edit my spelling and all that. But you can check out more information on that as well. I'll come back to that in just a second. If folks need, let me grab one more thing for you. This is the website, and you can find this again under svsu.org, or you can type in the search bar. You can see it up here, maums.svsu.org. And this is a brand new feature. I want to thank Ms. Green and Ms. Cleary for doing an amazing job for putting together a great video. But if you go to this page, you'll come down here and you'll see this tab that says About Us, and you're going to want to poke that. Let me see if it actually does that for me. Will it do it on a share screen? Maybe not. Maybe I have to go hop back in. Ms. Green, do you know if I have to go back into a share screen to do that? Oh, no. It bounced me out. Let me try to do it one more time. Let me see. Maybe I have to go back in here. Let's see, stop share. Let me do this. If you click on the About button, now I'll hop back in. Let's see if I can share that for everybody. If you click into the About button, what you should see, and I got to move everybody's picture over onto another side, is you will see a page that has a picture of Mr. Payne wearing shorts. So obviously that was done sometime during the warmer climates of Vermont. And that is a virtual tour of the middle school for those of you who have not been in the building before, or folks who have, but maybe it's been a while. You can press that button and it'll play you a short video. And probably even more helpful, this video, by the way, the tour is about 5 minutes, Ms. Green, is that about right? I think it's about 5 minutes. And then if you scroll down, there's one more video here, and this is the welcome video. That is provided to you by Ms. Green and Mr. Nicholas and Ms. Cleary. This is really helpful. It gives you a lot of detail, something I didn't want to overwhelm you with this evening, but it's really worth your time if you get a chance to go ahead and take a look at that. So again, this is the Mount Anthony Middle School website. And you're going to just want to pop onto this page, and right here, this big button, this is brand new. It says About Us. You're going to want to click that, and up pops just 2 simple videos. And you can take your time. You can watch these anytime you want. You can watch them as many times as you want. Although I don't recommend watching Mr. Payne 15 minutes in a row. It's probably not good for you. But you probably do want to go slowly through Ms. Green's and Ms. Cleary's video. There's lots of good information in there. Okay. I've shown that. I got one more person popping in here. I'll let them back in, and I'll stop sharing, and I'll come back to,
Hello.
All right. I have someone who just checked in. So at this point, I'm going to stop talking. I have 6:20. We have plenty of time to ask questions. If folks have questions, we're going to just ask that you do me a favor. You're going to turn off your mic. If you are not too shy, you can always wave your hand, and Mr. Green, Ms. Green or Mr. Lee will help me make sure I'm not missing anybody. And I am happy to take questions. We'll do our very best to answer them. Does anybody have a question? I can see people thinking about it.
Too. So these are principles right here.
You were thorough, Mr. Payne.
That was wait until you watch Miss Green's video. There's lots of stuff in there. Lots of good stuff. All right. So is there any questions? Can I ask a question and I'll answer it? Maybe that might help start. All right. So how many of you right now, I can see a couple of faces. How many of you are eating lunch in your classrooms right now? All right, I see a couple of hands. We are too. The middle school, we eat lunch in our classrooms. We're really hopeful that in the fall, our cafeteria will be available to make food for us, and that we'll be able to eat in the cafeteria again. Our cafeteria is where all the meals are being made, so it's filled with boxes and food. But when we are able to return there, you will have choice. And when you go to the cafeteria, you have a choice of where you can sit. We don't do assigned seating because we feel like you're older students and you should be able to pick where you're seating. So it's an excellent time to sit and have lunch with a friend who might be on another team. You also have a choice as to what you're going to eat. We serve pizza every day. It's hugely popular. I have middle schoolers who live on pizza. They eat nothing else. You have hot dish, which could be spaghetti, salad. Some folks like that. Other students go to the sandwich line where the ladies will make you a great sandwich every day. And if you're really nice, you can ask for the Mr. Caswell special, but I'm going to leave that for when you arrive, and then you'll see if you too can get the Caswell special. We do serve soft serve ice cream. That's available every day. Just for moms and dads, I want to be clear, lunch is provided as well as breakfast every day for students, all students free. But you can put money in an account for your student through the Abby group if you wish to purchase ice cream. Students, please be aware that your parents can monitor what you're spending it on. So if you're buying 10 ice creams for your friends every day, you're probably going to have a family conversation about that. I'm just letting you know, your moms and dads can check on those kinds of things. So anything else about lunch? I don't think so.
You have a question in the chat, Mr. Payne.
Oh, good.
What time, the first person to jump in here, we love it. What time does school start?
All right, so this year, school starts at 8:35. I anticipate, and I don't know yet because the superintendent hasn't told me, but I anticipate that when we return in the fall, we will be coming back and starting school at 8 o'clock in the morning. So that might be a little earlier than some folks in this meeting are used to. But on the plus side, as Mr. Lee likes to explain, that means we get out earlier too. Last year, or before COVID, we got out, we started at 8 o'clock and we got out at 2:15. So I think we'll be returning to that. That's an excellent question that I will answer and make sure you guys know well in advance of August 25th so that you know when to arrive.
We have another one, Mr. Payne. How do you get a locker?
Okay, so a locker will actually be assigned to you, so you don't have to worry about coming in and picking a locker for yourself. Yeah, it'll show up on your schedule, which we're going to mail to you in August, along with your combination. The lock is very common for moms and dads. It's a simple combination lock. So you spin to the right, pass one, spin to the left. It takes a little bit of practice. I do have students who actually buy a lock during the summer and practice so they can get really good at it. That's a good idea. And also when you come in, if you want to come in and tour in the August week, which is I think the 16th to the 20th, students will actually come in and part of their tour, they'll just sit there and practice with the lock. So your combination and your locker number will be printed on your schedule.
All right, now they're ready to make you earn your paycheck, Mr. Payne. Here they
Okay.
come. All right, we got some good ones. All right, so what is the earliest you can get to school?
Good question. We usually have students coming in as early as a half an hour before the start of school.
This one's tough. I'm not sure how we can like show this over Zoom, but how big is your locker? I'm not sure. Mr. Lee, you know the dimensions?
I cannot tell you the dimensions offhand, but I can tell you it's enough to be able to get a backpack in, a couple of coats. By the end of the year, you get a lot of stuff in because you see kids coming out with huge garbage bags of clothes and books and things. So plenty of room.
Yeah, more room than you'll ever need, but students have filled them.
Yes.
I'm not encouraging it, I'm just saying it's happened. All right, so we got that one. Oh, is there any information about busing students to school at this point? I know there's been, it's probably out there that it's been a challenge this year.
That's another one of those things that they'll be looking at over the summer, and they'll make a decision about how there will be busing to school. That's not going to change. What it's going to look like and whether it's going to be pre-COVID or whether it's going to be what we're doing now is going to be dependent on a lot of things. But information will be sent out to parents and families.
Thanks, Mr. Lee. Here's a question about, is there recess or outside time during the day? That's another good question.
So in the last year, we have not had a specific recess time. Prior to COVID, sixth graders had a recess of 15 minutes prior to the start of lunch. what we did this year, what we learned this year, which Mr. Lee and Mr. McGuire and I feel is really beneficial, is we took a lot of mask breaks. And we're going to continue to build breaks into the school day, even if we're not wearing a mask, because what we found is that it helps students with kind of their energy, like kind of wake them up, or, hey, I got to go run around a little bit, so I'm not, bouncing on my desk. And so if we don't have a specific recess time for 7th and 8th graders, but we will definitely be building in break times going forward, because it's been that's been one of the positives of a COVID school year.
Next question is, what time does school end?
I'm anticipating at 2:15.
I think Mrs. Green just added a nice little clarification to the chat, so make sure to check that out. Just around, if you're an athlete, you have a lot of gear, we help you out with that, and we give you a location in the locker room to put that stuff. And I think that catches us up so far.
So, and just a clarification, we didn't even touch on this. There's lots of opportunities to join clubs, and I anticipate more clubs next school year, as we're going to be able to meet together. And because right now we don't stay after school, but I anticipate clubs coming back. So I have a theater club, I have guitar club, I have yearbook. There's a couple, there's just different, student council. There's different things that if you're interested in, that you're going to be able to participate in. If you're a 6th grader, I just want to be clear though, we do not have 6th grade sports teams. At 6th grade, you'd still be playing for town teams. So if you play football, if you cheer, if you play basketball, little league baseball, whatever, if you're a 6th grader, you'd be playing for a town team, and it's in the 7th and 8th grade that you'd actually be participating on a Mount Anthony middle school team. That's how it's structured right now. There are expectations when you play for a school team. You need to keep your grades up. You need to be in school. You need to, not be in trouble and visiting Mr. Lee and Mr. McGuire frequently, because we see it as a privilege. But for moms and dads, what we find is that students who are participating in clubs and sports, their grades are higher. Their attendance is very good because they want to participate. So we really encourage middle schoolers to find something that you're interested in. If you're not a club person, if you're not a sports person, we really hope to have the return of the Mosaic program, which is after school programming during the school year. Again, that's a wide variety of things. Miss Carlisle runs a Dungeons and Dragons club. People have learned how to do stained glass, gone to the tennis dome. There's lots of different things that people do. You don't have to sign up for the whole year. So if you want to try different things, you don't have to sign up for every day. So if you're, look, I'm just looking to do something on a Tuesday or a Thursday, we have different options. That will be restarted in the fall, and we're looking forward to getting that done.
So you kind of answered this one already, Mr. Payne, but maybe not fully. There's a question around what athletic teams do we have to join?
Oh, okay. Please forgive me if I skip anybody. In the fall, there is soccer, there is cross-country running, football. In the winter, there's basketball. We have skiing, we have cross-country skiing, we have middle school skiers, wrestling. Wrestling did not run this year, but I anticipate it returning. I know I have a lot of middle schoolers who wrestle. And in the spring, we have softball, baseball, track and field. I was trying to think, do we play? No, lacrosse, I'm sorry. Lacrosse is the one sport, I should know this as I have a student who I have my own son who plays lacrosse. Lacrosse in the 7th and 8th grade is still played at the town level, but there's lots of opportunities to participate in sports.
I'm impressed. Nice job. So next one is, how many, I don't know the answer to this. These are good questions. How many students are needed to form a club? Sounds like we might have some
question.
Already thinking about what, a club we want to start up.
So yeah, so there's two ways. There's two kind of ways that I see people forming clubs. I've had teachers come to me and say, I want to form a club, whether it be a book club or, I want to do guitar club. And what I do is, one, you have to have an adult, because an adult is responsible for you after school to supervise and help you with your club. But I'm usually looking for somewhere between 8 and 10 students interested in a club, and then you have to have an adult. So I've had students approach me and say, hey, we really want to start this club, and we have somebody who is willing to be our advisor. That's how Minecraft started at the middle school. I have a big tribe of Minecraft folks, and so they found a teacher who was into that and wanted to hang out after school, and that's how we do it. So usually between 6 and 10. I'm not looking to organize clubs with one member. That's nice, but I don't do clubs of one member.
Next question is, how are the grades done? And just let me know if you want me to help with anything.
Mr. McGuire, would you like to answer that question?
Yeah, I don't want to mess up the flow, but I would love to. So it's very, for all of you coming from an elementary school in the district, which I know most of you are, one way or another. I don't want to make the assumption, everyone, but it should be very similar to how you do grading, at your school. We use standards-based grading. So, we use the same scale, a 1 through 4 scale. And actually Mrs. Green's video that she put together, just like Mr. Payne said, there's a ton of information in there. There's a whole section in Mrs. Green and the other counselor's video around standards-based grading and the grade scale and such. So thank you for that. So it shouldn't be much different in that regard. The grades, and it's again the same system. They're weighted heaviest. The most recent evidence is weighted heaviest. So that gives students an opportunity to, even when mistakes are made early on, to really, once they show evidence that they can do a standard or a skill, it's weighted much heavier. So that helps students in that regard. And we do have the habits of work grades. So that's around responsibility, respect, and best effort. Again, there's some stuff in the video about that too. But that is graded on a 1 through 3 scale. 3 being meeting it. So, we're just looking that you can exhibit those skills. If you have a 3 in all areas, then you're eligible to play sports. And I mean just all of the habits of work areas. So we do all of our athletic eligibility just based on habits of work. In other words, if you come to school and you're a good citizen, you're responsible, you're respectful, you try hard, then you're going to be good to go playing sports, regardless of your academic grades. I hope that answered the question, but be happy to talk with you more. Anything about grading, I do a lot of work in the school around grading. You're muted, Mr. Payne.
Thank you. So I just want to repeat that for moms and dads and families and students. So to participate, what we're asking you to do is to come in and give your best effort. Like, show up every day, be respectful, do your best effort. We recognize that students learn things at different rates. So we don't do a grading system. That's something you might be familiar with, that like at a high school level, like you got to maintain a certain grade level. We don't do that at the middle school because we are coming from a direction where we know that middle schoolers learn differently. So what we really are looking for is, like, if you're participating in a club or a sport, we see you as representing the middle school, and we feel like you should be a good citizen. I mean, you're showing up, you're being responsible, you're giving your best effort. Students occasionally don't meet that standard. You don't get kicked off of a team. You don't get kicked out of a club. We give you a chance to work your way back. You got to make a plan. You talk to your teachers, and many, many students are really successful in getting back. They might have had a bump, but they get back on a team. They get back on a club because we feel it's important that, hey, you're part of the community. People, everybody, gets a bump occasionally. You should be able to get a way back in. So just want to be clear with moms and dads. It is not a kind of a high school model that some of us might be remembering how we do that.
Probably a quicker question to answer. Can you have a water bottle on your desk?
Yeah, we encourage you to have a water bottle. We have water fountains, which I'm sure many of you have in your buildings as well, that will dispense water right into your water bottle. We encourage you to drink water early and often. It's good for your brain, good for your alertness.
Now, something like a Monster drink or something like that, we're going to have to talk, because that stuff, we're not going to bring that, into the desk of school, but we do encourage the water bottle. And usually that doesn't happen. Mrs. Green answered this one. How long are the school days? Thank you, Mrs. Green. The next question is, will there be any summer enrichment programs this summer?
Good question. So We are working on that right now. We're really happy that the kind of expectations of how open the building is relaxing. What we're working on right now is a recovery program, which families may be hearing about at their own schools. Those are geared mostly to our current students, but I'm hoping to, in addition to that, offer a couple of different enrichments. One is a literacy camp that a couple of our literacy teachers teach, which is fantastic. I'm also looking to offer an art and a sports opportunity, but I don't have details for that. I will be sharing those once we get those in a flyer with the principals. So, and get those out to the community for folks. There'd be no charge to them. And for folks who are planning their calendars for the summer, you know, you might have working obligations or you got vacation you'd like to do. Our programming is during the month of July. So it'll be July 5th, I think, to July 29th, I think is the last Thursday of the month. Please forgive me if I'm incorrect on that. But so in June and August, there wouldn't be programming, and that wouldn't interfere with any kind of, you wouldn't have to consider that in any of your planning. So.
I think I can take, the next two questions are about grading. I think I can address these briefly. What would happen if you got bad grades? Could you get held back? And so I guess the way I would answer that is if you put effort in at the middle school, you will at least be making progress towards the standards. You know, you'll at least have 2s and better if you're trying at the middle school. I'm confident in saying that. The tricky thing is when, you know, in the rare occasions when, you know, we're not getting the effort put in. And even then, we really try to pride ourselves on the teachers, the administration, the support staff at the middle school on making a plan and, you know, figuring out how we can help you get there in the time that we have left. So it's a very rare occasion that we have a conversation around someone staying back. Instead, we figure out, you know, how can we help you show evidence of learning? And sometimes that means coming up in the summertime and, you know, taking care of some business over the summer if, you know, if grades aren't where they need to be. But if you are putting effort in consistently throughout the year, you will be making good progress at the middle school. And we're confident in saying that. And the next one was around what type of grades do you need for sports? Mr. Payne did answer that. We touched on it, but just to reiterate, because I think it's really important. The only way sports are connected to into your grades is the habits of work grades. So the 3 categories are responsibility, respect, and best effort. If you have a 3 in those 3 areas, then you're good to play sports. The academic grades don't factor into sports eligibility. And then, Mr. Payne, I'm going to default to you. I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let you take this one. Is one of the sports teams tennis? We don't currently have a tennis team at the middle school, do we?
We do not. Students who play tennis in the middle school are connected through the tennis dome. And Ms. Foster, who's the current principal at Woodford, is connected with that. So if families are looking to learn, you know, you want to introduce your student to tennis, there are resources available that we can point you to get you connected to tennis. But we do not play tennis as a team right now at the middle school.
The high school does have a tennis team.
Yep,
Affiliated with the school. And I apologize. I skipped a very important question. Can students decorate their lockers?
So students absolutely personalize their inside of their lockers. I see mirrors, I see organizers. What we don't want you to do is, you know, pull out a Sharpie and leave something permanent for us. We love having you in the building, but we don't want permanent. Our lockers are very clean and very good working order, which is awesome because the building is 17 years old. So you can absolutely decorate the inside. We don't put stickers and things on the outside of them either.
Mr. Lee, I think this next question in the chat has your name written all over it. How are the teams determined?
Excellent question. So basically what happens is we take all of the kids from all of the schools and we mix them up when we bring them in, and we make sure that the teams are even. So we're taking a look at ability levels, like Mr. Payne had said, for students that are taking languages or students that are taking band or chorus, students that, depending on their level of education, boys, girls, we really look at all of those factors when we're putting the teams together so that we can keep them even across the board. So you could end up with somebody from your school or end up with a bunch of other kids from other schools so that they all get mixed in.
All right. We have a question. Are we going to have nature's classroom? Is that opportunity going to be had at the middle school at all?
So we do not offer nature's classroom. That's a elementary school opportunity. We don't offer that. What we do have here is a sustainability classroom, get you outside working in the garden, but not nature's classroom in a sense that it's a field trip where you're traveling away from campus for a couple of days for sleepover.
There's a question around the library. When do we have time in the day to visit the library?
So
Mrs. Forrest was here right now.
oh my goodness. The library, Ms. Forrest misses her students dearly this year. She's all over the building trying to get books to kids and try to run the library kind of virtually, because only recently did we have students starting to join her in the library, but she opens the library early, so you can always check in the morning and get books. And many students like that because, you know, it's kind of quiet. They can kind of go through the stacks, not, you know, have to navigate a big crowd. So before school, many teachers will write you a pass to go down to the library if you want to go grab a book. They're probably going to be encouraging you to read something related to what they're teaching. But if you're really into a, you know, series and you got to have the next volume, the library is available for you as well. The library does stay open after school as well. That's fewer students use that because a lot of my students are catching the bus. But Ms. Forrest would always be happy to have you come and visit her after school as well.
Next one is, do we have specials?
We do. We talked a little bit about that at the beginning of our program. It's a little different for 6th grade than what the 7th grade offerings, but I want to be really clear. They're based on a trimester, which means you take 3 specials in a school year. If you're a 6th grader, your specials are art, digital citizenship, and general music. If you're a 7th or an 8th grader, your specials are going to be art, health, or sustainability.
And just so you know, when you see it in our in the presentations and when we reference them at the middle school, we're often referring to them as unified classes. So just know we're talking the same thing when you see that word unified specials. How do the languages work? I think we're talking about foreign language offerings now.
Yep. So foreign language offered at the middle school is French and Spanish. We offer those to 7th and 8th grade. Students who complete 7th and 8th grade in French or Spanish earn the equivalent of Spanish 1 or French 1 credits at the high school, which allows you the choice when you go to the high school to start your 9th grade year in Spanish 2 or French 2. So those are the two languages we are offering currently.
All right, next question is, what if we don't know how to do the locks for our lockers? That should be an easy one to address.
Yeah, so I would encourage you, one, when you get your schedule in August, you want to take a look at, you know, what locker you're in and what's your combination. Some students do buy, you know, the basic combo lock and practice that just to get the sense of, oh, I go this way first and this way second. And then August 16th through the 20th, we're going to open the building for tours. Absolutely bring your schedule and we'll help you find your locker and we'll help you practice. And some students come in and practice. Some are like, nope, I'll learn the first couple of days of school. But if you're somebody who's like, no, I really need to know this, come visit us and then you can practice and you don't have to worry about, I got to get to class.
Okay, we got a question. Mrs. Green, thank you for the size of the library question, the reference to the video. That was perfect. Let's see. Here's a question. Can we talk a little bit about the hallway situation, like passes and permissions? I think the person wants to know just kind of what's the flow and how that works.
Sure. So a couple things that are going to change for the coming school year. This year, when students entered the building, they went immediately to their home room. That really helped us a lot. For parents who've had older students go through, at the beginning, the first half hour of school, you'd have 400 or 500 students in the hallways, and you can imagine it'd be quite loud. It gets people cranked up for the day. So as far as big crowds and having to navigate that in the morning, we're going to take care of that by just having students start their day in their home office, their home room, their home office too. It may feel that way. Between classes, you have the entire school changes classes at the same time. Though on the positive side, not everybody goes to the central square and squishes each other. Because remember, a lot of times you're just traveling either to the classroom next door or right across the hallway, because those are your core classes. And so that cuts down on the amount of traffic flowing back and forth. 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade all go to lunch at different times. So 6th grade goes down by itself, eats its lunch, doesn't have to worry about, older kids. Older kids don't have to worry about 6th graders. And believe me, they both worry about each other. That cuts down on it as well. And then in the afternoon, Mr. Lee really is enjoying, he gets on the microphone and he tells folks, hey, if you're getting on the bus, you leave now, if you're a walker. And that has helped with the flow too. And all those things are going to be in place next year just to kind of help us with the traffic. As long as the other thing is, we really encourage students and staff to travel down the hallways like you're driving down the road. Stay on the right side. Keep your head up. Don't be texting while you're walking. And that helps too, as far as traffic and people bumping into each other.
Trying to prepare you for driver's ed and such in the upcoming few years. Okay, so there's a comment about are we able to, oh, that's a question, sorry. Are we able to change the locks for our lockers as long as you have access to a key or know the code to it? I would just say that we have had some extenuating circumstances where a student, is better off for them to have a different type of lock. And we communicate that through guidance counselors. If there's a need, we can work something out. So we can talk about that as the year gets closer. If you reach out to your guidance counselor once you know the team that you're on.
Yeah, we just want to remember that we do that individually because we give everybody a lock. You do not have to buy a lock for yourself. And the lock that we give you has a key in the back, which allows Mr. Lee or myself or Mr. McGuire to open it. If you're like, oh my goodness, I forgot my combination, I got to get my stuff. That allows us to open them. So we do have, like Mr. McGuire says, we do have students who have different locks, but that's a plan at the family level that we're all aware of.
Mr. Payne, the next one's what classifies as I think that the question was around, is it a unified class, a core class? I think that's what they're asking.
Okay. So a core class is your English, math, science, and social studies. And your unified courses are those interest classes that you take for a trimester.
Here's a Mr. Lee question. He's ready. What are the main components of the dress code? What's extremely important?
The easiest way, there are a lot of components to the dress code. The best thing that you could do is to look at the video. They talk about that, about what the expectations are. You can go to the school's website and they will talk about all those pieces of what are the expectations, what is considered appropriate for school. The basic gist of it is, talking about the length of clothing, certain things that can or cannot be on shirts as far as sayings and things like that are concerned, and what you can and can't wear. But there's a lot of components to that, too much to cover through here. The best thing to do is to go to the website and watch the video, because those will be covered. The things that you're looking for to know about will be covered in both the video and on the website.
I think this one's still in your ballpark, Mr. Lee.
I'll take it.
Although it's something that we all can absolutely help with. But how are we going to deal with bullying?
We have a lot of different staff that are, the thing that we have at the middle school is you have a counselor, you have teachers, you're all placed on teams. And so you have all these different teachers that you can have access to. We do understand that the bullying happens. It is not something that is accepted. It is not something that is tolerated. So we want to make sure that kids feel comfortable. That's why we have the Just Bees. That's why we're expecting you to be good citizens. But if we do have issues that arise, we have counselors, administrators, and other people in the building that can help. And so the biggest part to remember is letting people know what's happening, and then we can help deal with those situations. But they are dealt with. And if you have concerns about friends, you can absolutely make those calls as well. There's phone numbers that you can call. There's emails that you can do. There's a lot of different ways to report what your concerns are.
And anytime a report is made, one of the three administrators, myself, Mr. Payne, or Mr. Lee, does an investigation. And, from there, we have a very specific policy that we follow. And it's a tier policy. So once we determine that bullying has occurred, in the rare cases that, something is actually happening that's, very substantiated, then, we climb those steps as needed. And we usually don't need to go very far before it stops. Can you still buy snacks like ice cream? Hopefully next
Let's
year.
hope so.
Normal,
We're
right?
hoping.
Mr. Lee is like, I'm waiting for
We're
it.
hoping. I want to get back into that cafeteria. They got really good food at the middle school.
It's true. Are we allowed to have our phones? And then there's a couple about phones. Here it is. We've gotten to the crux of the meeting. Are we allowed to have our phones? There's another, can we keep phones in our pocket, and can we have phones at lunch? And then Mrs. Green, all right, we're just going to go home. Mrs. Green's got it, I guess. I'll read it though, what Mrs. Green said. I know you all can read, but I'm going to read it out loud because it's important. Phones are not allowed during the school day. They must be kept in your locker. If you need to use the phone during the school day, you can visit one of the offices to use the phone. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much covers it. It goes right in the locker at, once you come down to classes, you can get it as soon as the bell rings for the end of the day. And if you need, sometimes we get like, well, I keep it there for safety purposes. Like, in case I have to contact mom or dad. If you need to do that for whatever reason throughout the day, whether it's, on a more regular basis, or if it's a one-time thing, just talk to us and we'll figure it out. We'll work with you and we'll figure it out. So we're still within the parameters of the policy for the school.
Well, I always talk about, we still have these incredible things at the middle school that have been around for a very long time. They're called landlines. They're actual lines where electricity and words and everything can flow through them, and you can still talk through those. So it's easy enough to come to any office and we can pick up a landline phone, and we can still call somebody who has a cell phone. So that is a possibility. They're still out there.
And you wouldn't even believe it. They're connected to the wall.
Yes,
they have
right
line wired right in. All right. So here's an awesome question. Can you explain what a guidance counselor is? I think Mrs. Green is going to correct me. That
she jumped all over that.
The title is actually,
she wrote the answer.
Counselor.
Chris, if you read on, she's already answered
I
the
see.
question.
Yeah. Every student's assigned one, formerly known. See, I knew where her was. Formerly known as a guidance counselor. I think I misspoke, so I'm sorry, Mrs. Green. I think I referenced you as a guidance counselor, school counselor. Okay. And so our role is to support students' academics, career exploration, and social emotional health. We co-teach in your classes, especially in health class. We also meet with students in small groups and individually. So they pretty much do it all. And they work really hard to build awesome relationships with kids so they can help you out. Oh, now we're getting into the weeds. What about Apple Watches? What about AirPods?
Well, I got to tell you, Chris, if you look down, I think Narissa, I like Narissa Ivy, whoever that is. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that answer. Apple Watches, I'm pretty sure are allowed because they are watches, but I don't think you are allowed to text on them during class. Narissa, you nailed it. They're watches, you can use them as such, but if you're going to be using them for texting, for games, there's no reason for that. So you can have the Apple Watches, and if they're connected to your phone, which should be in your locker and turned off, it should not be an issue. Now for the AirPods, those should be in your locker as well, because there's not a reason to have them. There may be some circumstances and some times that pop up with the computers and the things that we use at school that you might be able to access them. We'll have to see. But for the most part, they would be put away. But Narissa, thank you very much.
Yeah, good job. I'm impressed.
And
nailed that.
I would just share this. The AirPod, these are the wireless earbuds, right?
Yes.
So I want to, moms and dads, I really appreciate that students are getting the latest technology, but I'm going to give you this short warning. We went to Canada last year as one of the last things we did before we shut the school down, with a lot of students to go on our annual foreign language trip to Canada. Great trip. We're outside having a grand old time, snowball fight, and a student loses a pair of white earbuds in the snow. We dug holes all over this place and never found them. I really encourage, I know that they're wonderful, but like the middle school just imagine the middle school as a giant snowfield for your earbuds. They're going to get lost. There's going to be sad. There's going to be weeping and crying. I would just leave them at home where you can enjoy them and you know exactly where they are.
Oh, sorry. I read the next comment. I'm sorry.
Did you read the next question?
What's the next question?
They must have had siblings. They had siblings come through.
They had siblings come through. Chloe asked, where's the cookie platter at the end of the meeting?
Nice.
I remember you guys. Hello. That's awesome. We owe you.
I will make a promise to have cookies one day available to all students as we start.
That's great.
I'm wondering if that
Nice
was
job, Chloe.
or Dad messaging back. I don't know if that was Chloe or the parents. You know, I'm not sure who's looking for the cookie platter, but there's obviously a funny conversation going on there.
All right. Cookie platter means we're down to a couple of minutes left. We got any more questions, Mr. McGuire?
We are good to go. Just couple comments about the cookies and such, but I think we're caught up on questions. If I missed something, please speak up or re-put it in, because I was trying
Let me do one more time for folks. I'm going to share a screen just so that Mr. Lee and Mr. McGuire and Miss Green all reference things. If you go to the middle school website, which is maums.svsu.org, and there is a little button that says About Us right down here on the corner. It's a brand new button. You want to click that, and it's going to pop up to 2 great videos. Well, 1 great video and 1 video with Mr. Payne. But the first one with Mr. Payne in shorts, that's like a 5-minute tour of the building. So if you want to see what the building looks like, awesome. If you want some more detail that Miss Green talked about, or you want to share it with your friends, pop open that MAUMS welcome video. They did a fantastic job, totally worth your 13 minutes. It'll answer lots of questions. The other thing I would tell you is we've recorded this. I'm going to load this up. It probably will be another couple of days, but if you see folks out in the community or talking to friends on Facebook, just tell them, hey, Mr. Payne's putting the video up and About Us under the MAUMS website, and they can watch this. They can check out the questions. And there were some awesome questions this evening, so that'll be really helpful. And the welcome video Ms. Green just pointed out, that is where I just showed you, will be shown in 5th and 6th grade classes. So if your classmates aren't here this evening, if your best friend's not here this evening, you'll get to see it hopefully with your teacher in your current classroom. All right. All right. Well, you guys are awesome. I'm so happy to see everybody. This is the first time. I think we did a pretty good job for a first time of this, don't you? I think we had good questions. The audience was fantastic.
Yeah, they were great.
I'm going to press the stop record button. And